Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I am Cher. It is already time for my monthly palette rankings video for the month. Where did the months go? Honestly, I'm a little early on it just because we have Thanksgiving coming up next week. I have my best friend's wedding I'm doing the makeup for, and it's just a busy week of traveling, wrapping things up. I know it's going to be my heavy spoilers week too, usually. So I figured I'm going to go ahead and do this video this week. And I've used a lot of palettes already since our last video, so it's okay. We still have quite a few, and we had some really good ones this month. I got a lot of new palettes I'm so excited to share with you guys. So we're going to attempt to rank them in order of least favorite to favorite. It's always hard, but I like to do this and challenge myself, and I like to share all of the looks that I've created using these palettes as well. So if that interests you and you want to see me try to rank all of the palettes I've used for the month of November, stick around and we will dive right on in. All right, guys, so welcome. If you're new here, like I said, I'm Cher. I do accumulate a good bit of palettes. It is time for sure for another declutter. So look, at some point I'll be bringing you guys an eyeshadow declutter. Actually, I'm probably going to do just a full-blown makeup declutter first. This is some of my other makeup, and then we'll get to the eyeshadow, I promise. But it's time. The drawers are overfilling yet again. But today we're going to do rankings. So keep in mind, it doesn't mean that the ones that are at the end are bad. It just means relative to the others. And my mood tends to change every month. Sometimes ones I ranked really high last month might be lower this month. Let's get started with the last ranked one, and this is usually kind of at my end, and you guys see this one every month because I tend to use it for eyeliner, and that is the ColourPop Down to Earth Little Quad. It's probably just going to be in every video, y'all, because it's so convenient how it sits here on my desk in my little vanity, and I don't always use just a regular liquid liner or gel liner. I tend to use eyeshadow a lot with my mature eyes. And these just have the perfect shades in them for adding a little more definition, but without too much, with like an angle brush. So, but even though it's very practical for that, and I use it for that, I still rank it at the end just because it's not as exciting as all the other ones. And I don't have pictures for this one just because I'm not going to make a picture every time I do an eyeliner wing. I do have it on today as my wing, so you can see it works, right? But we'll include pictures for the others. All right, the next one, this is not really technically a palette, so sorry about that. It's a combination of an eyeshadow pen and a topper together. And I just need a place to still share with you guys looks I created with them. And I wanted to include the looks and rank them, even if it's not a full-blown palette, I guess. So this is a combination of the Nude sticks. It's a taupe color, and it's just an eyeshadow pencil. Now you can use this as eyeshadow or I guess eyeliner if you really wanted to, but you know, you blend it onto the eye, smear it around, and can make eyeshadow out of it. And then I also used the Beauty Counter topper with it. I got this in like an Allure box, I think, and it's the shade Ember. So it ended up, I thought it was gonna make, it says taupe, and then this one's Ember. Thought it was gonna make a very rusty gold color. It didn't. It turned off more smoky, like almost blue or like purpley, almost silver. So completely different color. I'm sorry, guys. My cat's in the window attacking something. You can see the blinds are like, this is why I can't have nice things, because I have 3 cats. Anyway, but overall, like it was a completely different color than I expected. It was nice for practicality. Like if you're traveling, I love this idea. You can take these and not worry about a compact and use it for like multi-use things. Overall, was it a favorite though? No. Like I don't tend to use this kind of stuff. I usually go more with a palette. I don't love the idea of having to spread it. Then you need a brush to kind of really blend it in good. I mean, you could use your finger, but it wasn't that great. And honestly, if I were to use this topper by itself, like I don't tend to use toppers for like a darker color. I use them more as like a really highlight color that pops. So it's just, neither of these am I gonna probably use much in the future. So I'm ranking them kind of low. And then the next thing that I used, again, it's not a full-blown palette, but it's an eyeshadow single, and that's the Dior single. This is the color Rose Montagne 826. It just makes a beautiful, like, light pink, kind of just a very silky feeling on the eyes, but it's of course all one shade. I tend to, if I wear it, it's just for a very simple look, very soft, feminine pink to just kind of cover the lid, but I would usually probably kind of contour with it with my bronze or something to give it a little depth. So by itself, it's just meh. I got it because it's Dior and I wanted to try their single shadows, but I don't know. I wouldn't rank it real high. And like the formula is nice that it feels kind of silky, but it's just, you know, it's not that exciting. All right, guys. Next, you guys have heard me. If you've been around here, you know how I feel about Laura Geller and her formula. I'm not a huge Laura Geller fan. Yeah, it's just not, it's very dry. I know she gears her stuff a lot to mature skin, and I do meet that criteria, but I just have not loved her things. This is the Wildflower Wishes palette. We got it in Ipsy, and I liked it for the color story because it does give a very like transition from summer to fall type color story. I think we got it though in July or August in the summer, and I was thinking of it a little bit more for fall, but it does have those like wildflower feel of the summer, wildflower field, you know, of the summer-esque color feel to it, but I would be using this more in the fall. And I used it because I just wanted to create a fall look. Again, I like the color story of it. I just don't love the formula, so it always ranks very low for me. And I almost got rid of it in my declutter, and I didn't because I was like, well, I like the color story. I'm still kind of on the fence. It might end up getting axed next time. We'll see. All right, and then another one from Ipsy. This is from the Ipsy Glam Bag. I got the Element Beauty, just a big like 5-pan or a mini 5-pan eyeshadow palette. And this made a nice look. It was definitely good for fall and typical colors I definitely do wear. I liked how it looked on me. It was a pretty good formula, not bad. Great if you want to travel because it's in the little small pan. You have just enough colors that you need, enough mattes and shimmers, and you can make a couple different color stories with it. So it was nice. It's just, you know, compared to everything else that I have, not as exciting. Okay, now another one that wasn't a full-blown palette. So sorry about that, but I still want to share this because I loved this month. Loved trying this out. This is from the Medusa's makeup box or beauty box. It is a beauty subscription, and I've started bringing you guys unboxings on it too on the channel. And this month I loved it. It was my favorite box because it was just all the colors that I wear that I love. And so this was a fun, just single topper for the lid, like shimmer. And this was a pencil, like eyeshadow stick also. And I absolutely loved the shade and the texture, the formula, like everything. And I loved the look that I created. And honestly, this is absolutely what I'll be wearing for fall, what I would wear for the holidays. It's that perfect shade and color and the shimmer and sparkle. And this is more like what I could do for travel. So I ended up loving this combination. And by the way, the eyeshadow was from, the stick, I mean, was from Maybox as opposed to the glitter pan that was just Medusa's makeup brand themselves. Okay, I did a whole video where I picked up the new Makeup by Mario Ethereal Moonlight Palette. And we are going to talk about that one later on too, because this is going to rank higher. But when I did my video, I really wanted to compare it to the Master Mattes neutrals because some of the colors in them looked familiar to me, and I wanted to do like a full comparison on the swatches and looks. So I did try out this one. Now it ended up being on my mannequin. I think that I put this one on. I don't think, did I put this one on my eyes? I can't remember, but we played with it and tried it out. So I'm including it in these palettes. This one still ranks kind of lower for me. It's great as a makeup artist to own this because it gives you a lot of good basic shadows, but for personal use, it is highly boring to me because I'm not a mattes girl. Or if I'm gonna have mattes, I like it to be something a little more exciting mattes, not just plain neutrals all over the place. The only exciting part for me is probably, you know, that pop of blue and the black, but I don't do a lot of black, only for your regular stuff, eyeliner or something, or a little bit smokier sides. But the blue is what stands out in the palette. So it's a little better than most. I honestly feel like the formula in this is just not that great, especially as I was comparing it to his new one. Like the mattes in each of them, there was a big difference between the mattes in his Ethereal palette versus this one. So it ranks kind of low for me. So yeah, as a makeup artist, it ranks a little higher, but not for me personally. All right, the next one's another Ipsy one, and it's not, I mean, I really liked it. So like I said, these are not ranked like way low or anything because they're bad. I really enjoy these. It's just because of all the ones in front of it that I love even more. But this was the Violet Voss Disco Drip palette. It was really neat because you had sort of like your everyday colors and like kind of fall colors on the bottom, and then you had these colorful ones on the top. I ended up really loving this palette because these colors were just like the perfect, it's like, yes, they were bright and made a lot of color, but they made the perfect type of color for me. Like, I'm not always a big colorful eyeshadow person. I mean, I do have certain artistic looks I do, but in my everyday, like, I'm probably not going to wear like a bright blue eyeshadow. But the way that it goes on, it's got this almost translucent blue, or like kind of a sheer formula to it almost. And these over here are so pretty too. So like when you put them together, they just make a really pretty, like you could make a totally wearable soft look also. I loved the blend of everything together. I did make a very colorful look though. I made kind of a wild, artistic, just, we had fun with it, color story with it for my look for Ipsy. But there's so many other wearable colors you could do too. So I did love this blend. I feel like it's very like versatile. All right, and then there is the Ofra Signature Luxe palette, and I know that this is probably not exciting to a lot of people, just kind of all browns and golds kind of color story, I know, but for me, this is just my tried and true, like I know what I'm getting with this, and I know how I look in it. And yeah, there's only like a couple looks I ever do with it, but whenever I use my Rodeo Drive pan right there, kind of their classic iconic one, it just makes such a pretty gold on the eyes, and I love it. So I always gravitate to this palette, so I do rank it a little higher than a lot of my other palettes. And it's just, it's an everyday wear look, but such a pretty one, like it just pops for me. So I always feel amazing in this palette. All right, next I brought out my tried and true Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 2 palette, and I had already been thinking I wanted to play with it anyway, just with fall coming and the holidays. This is always a favorite one for both of those seasons. But I had seen, of course, I've been hearing a lot about the mold issue in the Patrick Ta main palette, the Major Dimensions 1, and the first one. And I just happened to see a reel from Jessica Braun where she was like, oh, she found mold in her palette. So I raced to look at mine to see if mine had it or not, and I didn't see anything. And then I figured, let's make a look with it too while I have it out. And I have a little reel. I kind of just recreated hers to comment on everything. And so just as a PSA, check your palettes, but check all of them, because mold can honestly grow in any palette, especially ones you're touching with your hands, and especially your older ones. But apparently the Patrick Ta ones have had a lot more cases. Everybody's kind of talking about it. And so, but anyway, I didn't find mold in mine, and I still love mine. What I enjoy about it is his formula. The formula is just gorgeous on this. It is so stunning. It's so buttery, makes beautiful looks. But the downsides of the palette are just the color story. Like I feel like it all kind of almost makes the same look. I think this time I did go a little more on this side with the warmer tones, which I don't normally tend to do. In general, I always just end up making the same like rose gold colored looks. So I feel like it's kind of not the most versatile palette, I guess, is my main critique of this. And for that reason, I ranked my ABH Soft Glam a little bit above it. And this is just my old classic and true, you know, ABH Soft Glam palette. You got to have this one. This is just a like old ride or die, and I still love it. It just makes a little bit of everything. You've got the beautiful pinks in there, and then I love it for fall, and I did create kind of a fall look with it. I think I did a little more on the yellows this time, which I don't always do, but I do feel like in general, this is mostly a warm leaning palette, but then they throw you with a couple of cool tones in there with the pinks, and you think it's going to be overly pink palette, but it really ends up being a fairly warm toned one. I've made a lot more like oranges and yellows and, you know, reds, like dusty reds, than I ever have the pinks, but I do pinks every now and then with it too. But anyway, still love this one. All right, next we've got the good old Urban Decay Naked Heat palette, and I wore this one on Halloween for my pirate look. I went as a pirate, and I just needed, I don't know, I just wanted something kind of fiery and like, you know, these kind of smokier colors on my eyes to go with my little scar and just kind of make it all pop. So it worked out well for that. And I still really love this palette. I love to make this end, like I use it the most for this end, honestly, and you just can't beat it. It's one of my faves still. Another ABH that I love is the Primrose palette. This is so gorgeous for the fall too, and so I couldn't resist, and I made kind of that rusty fall look with it. But it also has this a face part of it with your blush or bronzer or whatever you want to do with that. And sometimes I interchange that even for eyes. It's just, you know, versatile in that way, but still always love this palette as well. One of my favorites in the fall. And I just feel like the formula in this one is different from, say, the Soft Glam or even my Renaissance palette. It's definitely a more pigmented, I don't want to say chalkier, but there's a certain formula in the Primrose and some of my later ABH formulas that I do notice the difference between this one versus those really old school ones. All right, and I did pull out the other Naked 3 palette from Urban Decay. The other Naked palette, I mean my Naked 3, and I've always loved this one. It's another favorite too, in general, kind of a classic. I was using it to kind of talk about my color theory with contrast and all that. We did that in that video, and I made a very like blue smoky look. But in general, I love this because it has both the soft pinks that I love and the smokier blues, which I feel really pop on me. Just this is a certain kind of blue in here that does really go with my eyes and skin. So it tends to be a favorite of mine and a classic that I'll probably always keep. All right, so we have a palette we are going to talk about later on. Okay, it's the new Huda Beauty Icy Nude that everybody's talking about, and for a reason, and it is amazing. And we'll talk about that when I get to it. But since I had picked up that new palette and loved it so much, I had to give this one a run again, my Huda Beauty Nude palette. I never understand why she calls this nude when it is not nude. It is like all pinks. Like, why? I still cannot understand that. But anyway, this definitely makes completely pink looks, and you can see my look here, totally pink. So anyway, I wanted to like play with it again, because sometimes when I get a new palette in a certain brand or, you know, person's line, it revives my desire to go back to their other palettes too. So I just wanted to play with it, and it's always a favorite. I think I love it more when I play with those softer colors, a little bit more over on this side. But I think I did like somewhere in here this time, and it reminded me I needed to play over there a little bit more. And so we did still create kind of a little more fall instead of less soft look with this one. So still love this one. It's just still kind of in the middle compared to some of these amazing palettes we're going to be talking about here. This is kind of transitioning into like just new absolute favorites. Right, so now we'll talk about the new Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes Moonlight Palette. This is so gorgeous, so gorgeous. Now, I did talk about in that video where I was comparing that it leans very blue. So even these tan colors, they look tan in the pan, but on, they look very blue. Now, a couple of the shimmers there in the middle are not as blue leaning if you don't put a matte base under it, but everything else is pretty blue. I mean, other than the white, I guess. So, because of that reason, I don't rank it quite as high. It's still beautiful and amazing though. I love this, but it would have been a lot higher at the top, I think, had it not leaned so blue on everything. And it's only because I don't wear a lot of blue. I mean, I have blue on today, which we'll talk about, but in general, I tend towards more of, it's these shimmers in here that I was so wanting and gravitating towards. I wanted these like champagne colors and tan colors, and everything else in the pan turned blue. So it's more that it wasn't what I was expecting when I bought it. I still like the blue and think it's fun, but it's just wearability for me. I'm not going to use it very often, just kind of special occasions. But I did absolutely love those shimmers in here. The formula in these shimmers are just stunning. They sparkle just like the Moonlight. So I think the Moonlight is such an appropriate name. And ethereal eyes, like it is named so perfectly, and that's the vibe it gives off. It is so beautiful, but it's not as high as it would have been, I think, because of the blue leaning factor. All right, but next, I'm sorry about my lighting, y'all. I cannot get my lighting. It's that time of day again, and I can only film in the afternoons, and I just feel like the sun isn't in here right these days, so apologize for that. Anyway, next we have up the Wander Beauty Trailblazer palette. We got this in Ipsy also, and I have continued to love this so much. I love the Wander Beauty palettes we've gotten. And this one, you know, it's got some great like fall leaning colors in here. And so I ended up wearing that, but with the tiniest little bit of green. I think I needed green one day, or I was wearing green or something, and I just kind of matched it a little bit, and it was perfect. It's just like a nice subtle green you can add in there, even though it looks a lot brighter in the palette, but it just makes this gorgeous, soft, like feminine look with the shimmers in here. I think it's the shimmers in here that I just am in love with. All right, now we have the Too Faced Gingerbread palette, which comes out at the holidays. Basically, it's a good winter holiday palette, and I don't think of it much to play with it, but man, I had to bring it out because I was like, I wanted like holiday, like soft pinks and, you know, that gingerbread idea. And I was like, gosh, I'm leaning towards this today. Let me try it. And when I put it on my eyes, I just felt so happy. It was the perfect colors because it's got some of these soft pinks in it and some like shimmers. And I still really love the Too Faced formula. Have always liked Too Faced, like their eyeshadow formula. And I went to go try it back out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this palette. And to think I almost decluttered it, no way now. It is at the top. I think it's just the color story. It's got all those colors that Cher loves. The cranberries and soft purples and soft pinks and soft whites. Enough of all of those colors and shimmers that are just right up my alley. All right, we got a new palette though too. This is from my sweet friend Mela. Y'all hear me talk about a lot, the ColourPop After Hours. And I know she had her eye on it, and I think she asked me in a sneaky way if I was getting it or had it. I don't know. And probably so she could gift it to me, the rascal. And I love this palette so much. Is it not stunning? Look at the mauves and purples and like soft smokies. It is so beautiful. And I love the look I created with it. You know, I mean, like this could have been, I'm really at the point where I'm struggling now. We're in the top 6, guys. These are all like such good palettes and new favorites of mine. So it was really hard to arrange it. I think it's like that shimmer there is just everything. And you got the bright pink. Yeah, I think there's just, I gotta lean mauve though. I gotta be feeling in the mood for mauve and purpley to wear it. So that'd be the only reason it's not number 1, is it's just one certain kind of color story. Okay, then I did the Tarte mystery box that I shared with you guys, and y'all saw when I swatched that gorgeous palette up. Look how gorgeous this is, y'all. Is this not stunning? And the swatches were so incredibly buttery. It was unreal. And the packaging is just gorgeous. and I fell in love. It is perfect. It is an amazing color story and finish and formula. Everything though might be almost a little too buttery. Like it goes on butter and there's not a whole lot of dryness in this palette at all. I do like a little bit of dryness in some of the mattes sometimes, not too dry. Like I need a certain medium. That'd be my only thing. I think all my indie lovers might actually love this palette. If you're not normally a Tarte person, I think you need to try this. It reminds me a lot of the indie formulas. It's very like, just more buttery like that, you know? Maybe a little too buttery for me though, but I mean, for the most part, absolutely loved it. Loved the colors. They do all lean a little more warmer tone though than I thought they were going to. Like I thought there was going to be some softer pinks. It did lean a little more on the warm side, just to kind of share that too. I was really torn on like which Tarte palette did I want to rank higher. We got the Tarte Juicy in the Ipsy icon box. So this was the Lisa Vanderpump pick, I think. And it definitely looks like her, doesn't it, with all these pinks, but I was just over the moon excited about all this pink. And so I ranked it a little higher because it was more of like a pink girly girl, just so gorgeous. And it's a lot more like some of the regular formula I'm used to. Like it was just buttery enough on the shimmers, but not like so buttery that it's just, I'm swiping butter all over my face, you know? So it was that perfect mix, but oh my goodness, I was so in love with this palette. All right, and then we're up to number 3, rounding it down. We've got Natasha Denona, I Need a Warm. And so this has continued to be like a new favorite palette of like the year or half year of the year probably for me. I love this palette. I love it even more than the I Need a Nude, I think. I don't know. It's so hard to decide between those two. They are absolute favorites. These are all of your everyday colors I wear, but with just a little bit more of a copper twist to them. Some are still a little more neutral, but it is that perfect warm copper color that I think looks good on me. It pops. The shimmers are gorgeous. It is just, this has been such a favorite palette, so it's still going to rank at the very top. So now we're down to our top 2. This was so hard because both of these palettes are like just have blown me away and made me squeal with delight. But I'm going to go ahead and rank my P. Louise Storybook palette as number 2. I'll explain why in a minute. You would think this would be number 1 because this was incredible. So if you saw my unboxing, this is from the October budget box. I just shared my unboxing video, and you know, P. Louise kind of runs behind by a month on the boxes of what they are. But what it is it's this storybook idea. And so with each page that you turn, it's a different palette. Is that not so amazing? So I'm kind of counting it all as one palette, even though it's 3 palettes really. So you have a blue kind of color story, kind of turning a little more green and rustier there. And then you have more of a coppers and like tans and browns. So I'm wearing right now the blue color story on my eyes, and I am in love. This is my favorite one. I'm in love with it. Now this is the end of the day. It's kind of worn all day on me, but what I love about it is, you know, like I said, I don't normally wear a lot of blues, but these are the perfect blues if I'm going to wear them because they're kind of soft and muted and frostier colored. They're a little more like just soft with those gorgeous shimmers in there that are a little more silver. So they're perfect for me. Perfect. Like this is still every day. Like I could wear this and not draw huge attention by wearing bright blue eyeshadow, like one of their other palettes that I got. So gorgeous. I'm in love with it. And then we have the next one that makes those just like kind of greens but there's still some tans in there. That is, I mean, it's great for fall, I think, and just everyday looks too. And then you come in here with the more browns, warmer shades and everything. So I wear a lot of warm shades also. So it's the most incredible palette because it's versatile with all the different color stories. I mean, I guess the only thing it's missing is like a lot of pinks and stuff, but it's beautiful. I think it's great for winter right now and fall. And I love the formula. I will say this is not the most lasting formula though, the P. Louise I've noticed. It's like, I don't know how to describe the formula. After trying them a few times, it goes on really pretty and it has really soft, beautiful shimmers, but they almost have a pretty buttery shimmer to their shimmers also that tend to fade. So that'd be the only thing, is I don't feel like it's the most lasting formula with P. Louise. Like there might be a little hint of extra buttery formula in there too, if that makes sense. But overall, so excited about this palette. It is amazing. And then that leaves us with the last one. You might have guessed by now. You're like, okay, it has to be none other than the Huda Beauty Icy Nude. I am just absolutely in love with this palette. This is everything right now. I want to wear this every day. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm feeling. And there's so many different looks. And every time I see other creators do a reel or a short or anything with it, like I just stop everything I'm doing. I want to see what look did they create. Like there's just so many amazing looks. And I actually even wore an everyday wearable, just soft, like almost nude look here. It's kind of more warm leaning, but you know, most of them are the icies. My cat's chasing something again. They're gonna entertain you today. But anyway, so I'm just in love with this. I have a whole video reviewing it. We did a couple of looks. So, you know, just kind of sharing what those were, but I'm going to be playing with this over and over again. And this is absolutely my number one. So in love with it. It is everything. And I love the Huda Beauty formula too. I am just so sad that it's her last big palette, she claims. I'm like, why? But of all the things to finish up with, it would be this. It is just stunning. It is so perfect for those frosty, you know, and even sugar plum fairy type looks, like everything frosty winter right now. It is perfect. It is such a beautiful one. So yes, definitely my number one. And that's everything, guys. So what did we think? Did you agree with me on some, or? I feel like most people probably agree with the Icy Nude palette. I think so. I think it's been a hit. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and let me know what's been your favorite that you've been wearing this month. And yeah, make sure you stick around if you like this kind of content and want to continue to see a lot of my eyeshadow palette reviews and other reviews. And I promise I'll be bringing that declutter to you soon, probably a makeup one and then the eyeshadow palette one. So you don't want to miss it all. You'll want to pop that subscribe and turn the notification bells to on, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.